Man, guys, I gotta say, I'm surprised with Eminence and Shadow today. And by surprised, I mean, we actually had a serious episode today. Wild, man! This show can do serious episodes? Who'da freaking thunk it? No, but in all seriousness, I knew we would get to this eventually, but it's just kind of funny. Because last week was so jokey, and then this week is just straight plot. And I mean plot, not of the jiggly variety. Actual plot this week. And it's interesting. This is an interesting little arc that we have right here, honestly. So let's just kind of dive straight into it and talk about The Eminence and Shadow, Season 2, Episode 2 today, as we learn more about Mary and the Blood Queen. So our episode begins today, as most of our episodes tend to do with this series, with murder, as we hear. Killing is what gave my life meaning. It's what made me feel truly alive. I was standing at the top of this fight for survival. Or so I thought. As we see the White Devil get absolutely eviscerated here by Crimson. As he says, "Now look at me. The ghouls are wrecking havoc all over town. I'll take anyone. I'll even take me. Just let me kill somebody." As we see quite shortly, he'll get his wish. As he suddenly notices, wait, that giant cleaver, that piercing glint in his eye, full of overwhelming savagery. It's the ruler of the Black Tower, Juggernaut the Tyrant. But he's not alone. Those distinctive 9 tails, a symbol of the highest ranking Theranthropes. She's the ruler of the White Tower, Yukimi the Spirit Fox. And I like how he's talking all this shit, but he's scared here as he says, they're both major big shots. I'd have to bend over backwards and I'd still never beat them. As we see the appearance of our biggest edgelord, I mean big shot. As we hear, my name is Shadow. As Yukimi says, the dawn of the armed militiants who have taken the Midgar royal capital as their turf. Kind of funny to hear her call Sid the Dawn, but sure, why not? As Juggernaut's like, all right, the boss of the gang that's wiped the floor with those snooty priests. As he busts down the door of the tower and says, that's none of my business. And it's here, right before she leaves, Yukimi tells Shadow, it seems you helped some of my girls in the pleasure district. So I hope we can remain on friendly terms. My dear Shadow. And let's just say she's going to be quite an important character this season, guys. Just saying. And as they're going in, the White Devil says the Tyrant and the She-Fox, they're both after the Blood Queen. Every single one of them is a good-for-nothing monster. As he says, damn it, I want to slice up some humans here, not these monsters. But as he sees Shadow, he says, wait, I don't sense any power from him at all. Which means he's weaker than me, right? As he jumps down and attacks him like, let's find out. And as he gets absolutely torn to shreds here, with ease, I think we have our answer. As he's like, what in the actual hell just happened here? And it's here as we transition to beta. If you guys actually pay attention to these little bits of information here, some of you, a lot of you probably think it's throwaway lines. But if you piece them all together, you start to get little glimpses of what's actually happening in the background of this series. It's kind of good writing, actually. I like it, as we hear. If this was the general technology of the time, then we must conclude that the cult's level of technology was extraordinary. The source of their power was found in the demon. That much makes sense, but where could they have possibly found the knowledge necessary to harness that power? But that's enough story for now, as Claire and Mary quite literally slide into the library. As Mary says, I told you not to touch anything! Claire's like, how was I supposed to know it turned into a slide? Fair point. As Beta says, good grief. What am I to do now? I was supposed to eliminate all witnesses, but I don't think I can in this instance. As she says, I have no desire to fight you, Miss Claire. As Claire says, you know me? And Beta says, you're Claire Cockino, winner of the recent Bushin Festival. Are you not? Because everyone relevant was out of it, by the way, but still. As Mary says, she doesn't seem like a vampire, and we don't have time to fight unnecessary fights right now. And she's not alone. As we see the reemergence of a certain character. And as we transition to our next scene, we see that Beta introduces herself as a member of Shadow Garden. As Claire says, are you one of the people that burned down our school? You gonna burn down this tower next to you, arsonist? As she just gives a look like, haha, very funny. And tells her, I was doing research on the possessed for reasons I can't go into. And for that, I'm hoping for a blood sample from a progenitor vampire. As Mary asks, what do progenitor vampires have to do with the possessed? And Beta says something interesting here as she says, when traced back to their origins, the possessed and vampires are the same. In the process of descendancy, the bloodlines changed and split off from one another. That's the theory we developed with our research. As Mary says, that's blasphemy against the progenitors. But Beta gets her ass here as she says, oh? Why would that make you angry, my dear 1,000-year-old rumor, Miss Ancient Vampire Hunter? As Mary says, you know me too. But Beta assures them that we'll stay out of your way, and you stay out of our way. Got it? But it's here, Claire says, just tell me one thing. Is there a way to cure the possessed? And Beta's gotta be laughing inside as she says, you have absolutely nothing to worry about. You're good, Claire. As she says, whatever, let's go, Mary. If we keep wasting time here, we'll never save my brother. As we see a certain someone doesn't like what she just heard. As Claire said, the people here kidnapped him, and if we don't hurry, he'll be sacrificed to the Blood Queen. As 666 rushes in and says, is that true? Is it true? As we suddenly hear 666, stand down. And as they're leaving, Beta says something interesting again as she asks Mary, so you have no desire to strive for the haven once more? So we see Mary didn't quite like that question very much, as she doesn't even answer and walks away. And as they leave, Beta says, you disappoint me, number 666. And you two are supposed to keep her in line. Our mission is to obtain the sample, nothing more. Lord Shadow will be the one to deal with the Blood Queen. That will eliminate all problems, including the issue with the sacrifice. Do you understand, 666? As she says yes. And to explain this part, in case that was a little bit confusing to you, there's misunderstandings left and right here. You see, Rose is now a member of Shadow Garden, as 666, as you can clearly see. But she doesn't know that Sid is Shadow. She has no idea about that. She's under the assumption she abandoned Sid and joined up with Shadow Garden here. So of course she's going to freak out when she thinks that, oh, he's in trouble here, which we know he's not. And Claire is under the assumption that she's still possessed, even though we know that Sid cured her in season 1 earlier. But she doesn't know that. She thinks she's still dying. So that's what's going on here, in case you guys didn't understand that. And as we transition to our next scene and see Mary and Claire fighting a vampire, she says, strike its heart. As she does, and they take it out with relative ease. As Claire says, even an immortal vampire will die if its heart's destroyed, huh? You're a vampire hunter, alright. You really know your stuff, Mary. But we see Mary's acting quite strange after that conversation with Beta. Now you see, guys, Claire's dumb, but she's not that dumb. As she says, you're hiding something from me. Like, no shit. You were acting strange back in the library. Almost like you were taking the vampire's side. What are you really after? As Mary says, the Blood Queen. But Claire says, to vanquish her. Right? Then what was she talking about? What is this haven? You don't look like an elf, but they've talked about you for 1,000 years? But Mary throws it back at her and says, you aren't any different, Claire. A possessed can never be human again. As she tells her, everyone has their secrets. I won't pry into yours, and you won't pry into mine. Can't that be good enough? But it's here all of a sudden, literally crashing through the wall, like the Kool-Aid Man. We see that the Juggernaut's here. As he says, they say you have to crush a vampire's heart to kill it. But you're still so weak. And I thought this guy was one of the top brass around here. But there are plenty more where that came from. And as they're watching him just absolutely eviscerate these vampires, Mary says, that's Juggernaut the Tyrant. And the one he's beating to a pulp is the third most powerful entity, potentially powerful vampire in this tower. As Claire says, and the two on the heap on the floor? And she says, on the left is number 5, and on the right is a lost number. As Claire's like, those titles make them sound tough, but they're not really shit, huh? No, they're not. As Mary says, Juggernaut rose to the top to become one of the most powerful people in the Lawless City. Through sheer, overwhelming violence. Let's wait until he's gone. I don't want to fight him. But it's here we very quickly see he has other ideas. He knows they're there. As he says, I have good instincts, you know. So okay, Batface, die if you know what's good for you. As he knocks the shit out of Claire here, literally sending her through the floor. As he sends Mary flying here. And says, I thought you'd be better than those gruntlings. Maybe my instincts are getting a little rusty. But it's here as one of his legs is punctured. We see that Claire's back up as he says, you're pretty tough, huh? Most guys I fight are down after the first punch. As Claire says, you're the second person who's ever managed to hit me in my face. And I'm sure he won't be the last. And as she goes and checks on Mary here, Mary is not doing good, dude. She is like mortally wounded. As Claire tries to heal her and she says, I'm fine. It's just been so long. As she says, sorry, Claire. Let me suck your blood. As she proceeds to suck face with Claire. Literal blood spit between their mouths. And bro, I already saw people going crazy about this. I know. And I'll tell you guys now, no, nothing's gonna happen with this. Sorry to disappoint you. She literally did this because Claire's bleeding from her mouth. So that's an easy way to get blood. Come on, guys. Come on. As all of a sudden, Mary's bursting with power, fully healed. As she starts attacking Juggernaut head on, and he says, finally a real fight. But I'm still stronger. As he blows away Mary's attacks and she says, it's been so long, the blood isn't assimilating. As he quickly closes the distance here, and he's about to kill Claire legitimately. As she says, I'm sorry, Sid. But who should show up here? But an Eminence in shadow. As he sends him flying with a kick. As Juggernaut screams, what the hell are you doing, Shadow? As he tells them the frenzy has begun. His catchphrase in this town. We have little time remaining. And then just dips out. As Mary's like, so that's Shadow. I've heard the church has marked him as an enemy. And it's here Mary changes the subject and says, I'm sorry, Claire, for sucking your face and taking your blood. As Claire says, it's fine. Actually, no, it's not fine at all, but never mind that for now. As she says, so your secret is that you're... As Mary says, yes, I'm a vampire. Who could have thunk it? Oh my goodness! As she says, I'll tell you everything. Who I am, why I'm here, and the truth about the Blood Queen. Buckle up, guys. It's time for story time. And it's a little sad, honestly, as we hear, more than 1,000 years ago, It was a golden age for vampires. They would hunt the humans, devour them like animals, and slurp up their blood, all as if it were a game. But times changed. Humans learned the vampire's weakness, and the hunters became the hunted. In the blink of an eye, they would vanish from the face of the earth. During that time, my blood queen, Lady Elisabeth, lived among humans as the ruler of a small federum. She wanted to live in harmony with the humans and voluntarily gave up blood. And as her subjects, we followed our queen's example and stopped drinking blood as well. As a result, we gradually lost our powers, but we gained other things in return. The ability to live in the light of the sun. A pretty big perk if you're a vampire, if you ask me. I think I'd like to live in the sun, preferably. As she continues and says, we had tranquil hearts no different than those of the humans. Our thirst for blood waned and we were able to live in a beautiful world filled with light. But that was not so for Queen Elisabeth. No matter how far she distanced herself from blood, the maddening thirst for it never left her. And when sunlight struck her, it would burn her skin hideously. As we hear Elisabeth say, let's build our haven here, a land where humans and vampires can live together in happiness. As Mary says, the haven she strove for truly did exist in this place. But all good things in life have to come to an end, guys. As we hear, but then came the night, once in 1,000 years, when the red moon rose in the sky. The night that gives vampires tremendous power. Queen Elisabeth was starving for blood, and Crimson gave her a single drop. And at that point, everything was done. As we hear, Queen Elizabeth's frenzy lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. The haven disappeared into a pile of rubble, and 3 kingdoms suffered catastrophic damage. I only survived by lapping up the blood of the dead and went in pursuit of my queen. But by the time I was reunited with her, it was all over. As Elisabeth says, scatter my ashes into the ocean so that my flesh can never revive. As she takes a dagger and we hear, Queen Elisabeth took a dagger and stabbed herself in the heart. If she had been an ordinary vampire, she would have disintegrated instantly. But the queen never turned to ash. I could neither defy her wishes nor carry them out. All I could do was vow to watch over her in her eternal slumber. But as we very quickly realize, it was a foolish choice. As she says, immediately after that, Crimson and his followers took my Lady Elisabeth from me. As Crimson tells her, out of respect for your service protecting Her Majesty, I'll spare your life. I pray that you have chosen to join us by the next night, 1,000 years hence. As Mary says, and now indeed he's attempting to use her again for his own ambition. How can I possibly earn her forgiveness? Quite a lengthy story, but it explains a lot, actually. As Claire tells her, I'm no better, because I might be possessed. I showed the signs when I was a little girl. So one day, I'll become a monster. So I hoped I could help my brother achieve something before that happened. That's why I brought him here. And if anything happens to him, how can I ever apologize? As Claire adds, so this haven of yours, are you sure you can't build it again? As Mary says, I don't want to make the same mistakes. And besides, I think Queen Elisabeth wants to die. As Claire says, you won't know that unless you talk to her. It's too sad to let it end this way. And it's here we really do see how her and Sid are pretty alike, actually, as she says, so let's just go kick this Crimson guy's butt and get your queen back. That simple. As Mary says, thank you, Claire. And you can see a beautiful little friendship building here. Ain't that adorable, guys? As Mary says, I promise we'll rescue your brother too. As Claire says, I'll do that myself, with panache, which means style and flair. So mind your own business, bitch, okay? And I love how the music just kind of cuts out here, all of a sudden. As Mary's just like, what'd you say? Even in a nice scene like that, Claire's gotta make it weird, huh? God damn it, Claire. But it's here. It's time to transition to an Eminence, as we hear, oh, my heart is full right now. Look at the treasure. Just what I'd expect for a vampire's treasury. As he's like, oh yeah, I think I ran into my sister back there somewhere. Ah, well, she can take care of herself. She's fine. Just to let you guys know, Sid just found them by accident, by the way. He didn't go there specifically trying to save Claire. He just happened to stumble on that scene. He's like, oh, I guess I'll save her. I guess I'll save my sister. I saw some people saying, nah, he sensed it. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. Trust me. And it's here as he starts looking at all this gaudy shit. None of it's good to carry out on a person. But it's here as he looks at the coins, he says, these are perfect to carry out, and they're worth a lot of money. Just like Epsilon pads her chest with slime, I'll pad my slime with coins. I'm sensing some shots fired right there, guys. I don't know, maybe it's just me. As Sid says, 1,000 coins, 100 million zenny. I plan to live at least 300 years, so that's not going to be nearly enough. But I do have a boss battle coming up. I should pack light. You know, I've been showing up fashionably late a lot recently, and it's starting to get a little old. I gotta change it up sometimes. Operation start the last battle before the named characters show up so they're all see it and be all, whoa, what an intense battle. There's no way we can fight like that. It's a perfect plan. As he says, this is a pretty rare chance. Maybe I'll make it an extra flashy entrance. And as we transition to Crimson, we hear, your flesh and bones wasted away, reducing you to nothing but your heart. And yet you are still beautiful, my queen. Let us paint the world in blood once more. As he puts the heart inside this male body and says, now, return to life. And this scene is so stupidly funny. As this man is monologuing, Sid just comes in and blows the whole place up. This is why you don't monologue, villains. As he says, the frenzy has begun. And with that, our episode ends. Whew, I'll be honest, guys, I did not want this video to be that long. I'm looking at the timestamp like, Jesus. But there was just so much information I had to give to you guys today. They crammed a lot of info in this episode, and I had to give it to you guys so you guys could understand what's happening. Because we're going really quick through this season, dude. I'd say this arc maybe has 2 more episodes left, and that's it. We might be covering more in this season than I initially thought. Especially after watching the opening, I think we really might get into Volume 4 stuff, which is wild to me to think about, but it could happen. I don't know, we'll see in due time, but I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this episode now that we know about Mary and the Blood Queen. But until next time, I hope you all have a great day, week, month, and year, and until then, deuces, have a blessed day, and I will see you guys next time. Deuces.